All right, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining in today. Today I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how I do the workflow from beginning to end. So this morning I was out photographing these lovely black skimmers at a colony in southern New Jersey along the shore. Before anyone asks, it is a private beach, so I have permission to actually photograph them there. I got permission to get access to the beach, so I can't give the location out. If anybody is looking for black skimmers along the Jersey Shore, I know there is a colony in Stone Harbor at Stone Harbor Point. As far as I know, though, the colony is always far in the really roped off area, but you can see them there. As far as getting photographs, it can be tough. You can get lucky and just get them to come by, but it's never 100% there. So let's get started. So here's the card, 64 gig card. When I get back, whoops. Let's see, let me switch here, show you guys here. So when I get back from the shoot, I just take this card, put it in the card reader. Lightroom's automatically set up to auto import for me, so it should pop up here just in a second. I'll show you guys. There you go. So you can see it comes up ready to import. I've actually already imported these because it actually took 45 minutes for them to import. I shot over 2,000 photos this morning, so it took over 45 minutes for them to import and render. But I just want to show you guys real quick. Here's what I do. So here's the import screen. Normally they won't get grayed out. That's only happening right now because they're already imported into Lightroom. So I'll usually pick this pop-up here. I have a preset called Nature. It sets everything exactly how I want it. So it builds my one-to-one previews, adds it to my location collection. I'll show you about that right now. Adds my copyright to it, and it automatically sets it to copy to the correct folder, which is my media drive with my Lightroom photos here, and it puts it in a date ordered folder. So Lightroom handles doing all that. I'm going to actually click cancel now because like I said, they're already imported, so we don't need to actually import it. And real quick, I'm just going to eject that card so it's out. Usually what happens is when Lightroom is done importing everything, it automatically ejects the card for me, so I can just walk up and take it out of the system. So once I'm done getting the import, card comes out. I'll wait till it's actually backed up. I have a time machine backup that runs here, and it's actually, I think already, yeah, picked it up. It's copied everything already right now. So this is Time Machine. It's built into the Mac. I have a 6 terabyte external drive that is my backup drive, and that copies everything from this tiny external drive that I'm using, as well as all the other drives I have connected to my computer, which are quite a few, and I'll show you here. So I have an archive drive, which is just all my really old stuff for my weddings and portraits. That's actually doesn't get picked up with Time Machine, but it does get online backed up, and I'll get to that in a moment. Here's my backup drive. It's my 6 terabyte drive. That is my Time Machine drive. This is a really old drive, nothing to worry about there. My internal hard drive, and here's the media. This is my current working drive. So this is a 1 terabyte solid state drive. It's really fast, and that's where I copy everything to begin with. So I have my Lightroom Nature and my Lightroom Work, which is my wedding and portrait catalog, and then just some other miscellaneous stuff. So in the Nature thing here, you can see here's my catalog. So here's my Lightroom Nature catalog. Here's my photos. Only the last few months of stuff is actually here. So I only keep just the recent stuff on there while I'm working on it. Once I'm done working on it, it gets moved to my Media One drive, which is a 2 terabyte external drive. It is a portable drive, so I can take it with me. And that's where you can see I have all of my photos. So dating way back to when I started shooting. Everything's just by date order. I also have all of my portrait and wedding work on here as well. Then I also have a video drive, which I dumped some video on. I shot some really cool video of these black skimmers today, so that should be really neat to put together later. So I copied those into there. Again, date ordered, and I just show them that way, or I save them that way. So that's kind of the drive setup. The second part of my backup is Backblaze. So Backblaze is set up to automatically back up everything online. It does incremental backup, so all it does is back up the new stuff when you first sign up. So for instance, when I first signed up, I think I had about 4 or 5 terabyte of stuff to back up online. It kind of took forever. Actually, I think it was actually about a month before it all got backed up. And now now that I have it actually backed up, so something like the shoot today, 2,000 photos, it'll probably take a day or so, usually overnight, maybe into the next day before it'll actually finish backing it up online. But it's going to back up all these photos for me if I don't delete them before then, which some of these I might. So that's the backup strategy there. So at this point, I have the photos on the internal hard drive. They're still sitting on this card here, which I'm going to leave sitting right here. I won't format that until I actually take it out to shoot again. Might be tomorrow, probably not, but even if it is tomorrow, at this point I have it already backed up on my Time Machine backup drive, and then, like I said, in a day or so, it's actually going to be backed up online. So usually within a day or so, I have everything backed up multiple places. And feel free to ask questions as I'm going along here, guys. So for me, it's really important to back up. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention. Almost all modern cameras today can take multiple cards. So my camera takes a CF card and an XQD card as the secondary slot. And what I do with that is I actually always shoot 2 camera cards at the same time, and I shoot full raw backup. So when I left the shore this morning, I had all my raw files, all 2,000 on this card, and they were already on a second card in the camera. So if this card completely failed, I would have the entire other card ready to go. So I started doing this and learned to do that with weddings, because obviously weddings are incredibly important. So that's where I learned to really make sure backup is an important thing, and I've just kind of followed that through with my wildlife. Knock on wood, I've personally never had any card failure in all of my career. It's almost 20 years now. I've never personally had any card failure. I've worked for other studios that have had a card failure, but I have not personally had one yet. That being said, I've talked to a bunch of friends. I have some close friends that have all had card failures and lost images. They were almost always able to recover most, if not all, so that's really good. It is possible to recover things, but with cameras that have 2 card slots in them, why even take the chance? I mean, these cards are relatively cheap, especially after you've just spent, how many thousands of dollars on your camera. Why not spend an extra 100 or whatever it costs to get a second camera card that's the same amount of storage and a fast card? It doesn't slow your camera down any, at least not in my experience. I can shoot full roll backup to both cards without anything slowing down, and it's just a really great way to go. So I highly recommend that. It seems like a no-brainer to me, and if I ever did have a card failure, I wouldn't even have to worry, because I'd have the other cards sitting there ready to go. All right, so let me just take a sip of water here. Now we're in Lightroom. So previous import right up here, all the photos have been imported, all 2,100 of them. And when I import it, my preset automatically adds them to this location collection on the left here. So here's what I do. I go into the location collection. I select them all. I hop over to my map. And I'm not actually going to put them on the location because, like I said, this is a private location. I can't really divulge it right now. But I just want to show you guys real quick what I would do once this map loads. So it's at the last place I shot, which is Belplain. But I would normally select all these photos. I'd drag them, drop them on the map here, and then they actually get the GPS coordinates embedded in the photos. So that way when I share them, they would share the location. In this case, I have my location preset as a private location. So it embeds the coordinates and keeps them on the map for me, but it wouldn't share those coordinates when I actually export the photo. So it keeps the location private. So that is an option as well. So once everything's marked in the location, my next step is I would select all these photos, move them to my initial cull folder here, where I would actually start going through and weeding out the good and the bad. And we'll just wait a second here. Everything's working a little slow. I got a lot going on with the streaming software and it's recording and all that stuff. So it's a little bit taxing on the computer here. So bear with me. It's also, 2,000 photos. So there's that. And then I would actually erase them out of this location collection. I'm not going to do that right now because I need to come back and do that. So basically I use this whole section over here on the left as the steps that I'm currently working on. So right now I would have 2,100 photos in the initial culling collection, which means I could quit my Lightroom. I have to say I have something else to do. I come back, and then a day or two later, I sit down at Lightroom and I'm ready to work on wildlife stuff. I can open it up and see exactly where I'm at. I'd have all these photos I have to do my culling process with. These 45 photos here need to be color corrected. These 27 photos here need to be rated, which I give them a star rating. And then, as you can see, I slack on my keywording. I have 2,700 photos that need keywording. So I'm really behind on that. And at some point over the winter or something, maybe I'll eventually catch up on that. So let's see, back to the initial call. So the next step for me at this point is to actually sit down and start going through these photos one at a time and picking out what I want to keep and what I don't. So the way I do that is I view the photo really large here. I tab out all my palettes. By the way, Shift Tab just gets rid of all your palettes on Lightroom. And then I press caps lock on the keyboard here. Let me just split screen you guys. So caps lock right here actually enables any kind of rating you do to a photo. It auto advances to the next photo. So this photo is no good. I'm going to reject it. And that's how I cull through my photos. I actually mark what I want to get rid of instead of what I want to keep. For me, it's actually easier. It's just an easier mindset to know what's crap and what I want to get rid of. And that's what I'll do instead of trying to decide what's the best and what I want to keep. And I'll get into the really narrowing down process in a little bit. So I'll just go through here, and here's how fast I would do it. So that's a keeper, reject. These are just duplicates. I don't need them. That one's okay. That one's better light, so I'm actually going to go back, reject those two, keep that one. I like the foot up, foot down, don't need, turned away, no good, reject, reject. The head turn's okay, but no, it's just not doing anything for me. Reject, reject, reject. Yeah, maybe I can crop something out of that, so I'll hang on to it. I don't need that one. Don't need that one, not great light. A little overexposed there. I could recover it, but the photo's just not really doing anything wow for me. Out of focus, out of focus. All right, still overexposed. It's nice and sharp, which is a shame because it's a nice portrait. It's kind of funny with that little grass thing on them. But rejected just because of how overexposed it was. And just to show you real quick, let me hop into develop. I think we could recover it, no problem. See that? Actually, now that I did that, I don't know, the head angle is just still a little weird, so I'm not in love with the photo, so I'll still leave it as rejected. I'll keep one of these. Rejected, rejected. I missed focus on this one. I caught focus right here on the bill. Let me zoom in for you. I'll switch back to the screen. I caught focus on the bill here, totally missed the eye. So in that case, this is a reject for me. And I'll just leave the settings up here so you guys can have an idea. That was 200th of a second, f4 at 1600 ISO. So rejected. So I remember this actually, he kept swinging back and forth and I was trying to get a perfectly head-on shot. I really wanted to see the narrow bill there. So that's what I'm looking for here. I might keep one of these, but hopefully I have a better, more head-on because it's still a little bit of an angle. Not a good angle there. That's actually a solid kind of to the side portrait, and you can see already now this is a better exposure. It's a tiny bit overexposed here, but not near as much as it was before. It would have been nice to have the feet in there, but I can crop it in tight and just do an interesting tight portrait with that. So, and feel free to ask any questions as I'm going along here. This one's interesting with the beak open like that. Eyes are in focus, which is exactly what I wanted. So I had locked focus on the eyes and not the beak. So I was just waiting for him to kind of swing back and forth, and I was just kind of bursting as he moved along there. That's close, but you know what? At 200th of a second, he was moving. It looks like I either missed focus or it's just motion blur. It's kind of sharp right in here. The eyes are completely out, so that's no good. Rejected, rejected. All right, this was an interesting scene. Look at this giant fish, and believe it or not, this chick is actually going to eat it and put it down. So I was just kind of tracking this guy, waiting for something to happen. Here comes the chick. All right, that one's good. So rejected, but there. So fish in the eye, no good. That one's really good. Fish across the bird, don't need it, especially since I have that one from earlier. So rejected, rejected. Chick's back there, so it's kind of... That one's interesting. The chick's kind of an indication of it. It's a relatively clean background, not perfectly clean. I'd like a little bit better, but it's usable, so I'll hang on to that one. And now I tracked the chick as it came out. It's funny that they do this posture when they're trying to get food. The fish is pretty torn up. Looks like he already beat it up pretty well there. Gonna hang on to that one. out of focus, reject. That one's in focus. Interesting, kind of, they're both moving towards me. I like that angle, but I like the bill open on the chick there, so that one's rejected. Rejected. That one's good. Now we got something. Now we're talking. They're kind of facing each other. And now we're just going to wait. So let's see. That's a more interesting head behavior here. So that one, he's just kind of there. And this one, the adult, is kind of leaned up. But you can actually notice both of them. I don't know if you can tell on the screen share, but both of them are out of focus compared to the previous one. So this one's a goner. Goner. I'll keep that one. Nah, reject. It's a little soft. There we go. Now I'm back in focus. Looks like I may have missed focus a little bit there. I'll hang on to that one. Rejected. That one's better. So going back to reject, reject. Keep that one. Reject. It's out of focus. I like that. The chick's starting to come in. Reject. It's just a little bit too jumbled up with the bill there. Reject. All right, now it's taking it. So I'll hang on to that. That one's better. It's sharper. So reject. Keep. This stupid bird photo bombing me here. I'm going to hang on to that one because you can still see the taking from it. Reject, reject. Oh, that bird in the front just killed it. Reject. Then he turned away. Reject, reject. A bunch of these are going to be rejects. So now I'm just going to wait until the chick kind of turns around and gives me an angle I can actually see that is decent. And that's not bad. 2 out of focus. That's a better angle. I'm going to go back and get rid of that one. Keep that one. That one's good, except it might not be real sharp. There we go. It gets sharper. So this is how I do this. Yeah, no problem, Zaf. Enjoy and have a great day, and hope you can watch the recording later. So hopefully you guys kind of get an idea. I'm just going to go through a little bit more of these. I'm not going to do a ton. I'm just going to do a little bit more. Hopefully you get an idea how fast I kind of cull through these. It's just a complete gut reaction for me. The speed that I'm going through these photos right now is how I actually decide what I'm keeping and what I'm getting rid of. I don't spend a lot of time kind of mulling over if it's good or not. I just usually just a quick gut reaction. Is it going to be usable or not? And I think that for me that kind of works because I think that's how most people are going to view your photos online, especially with us all sharing on social media. They're going to hop on, they got a couple seconds to view it, and it needs to stand out that quick. So if it doesn't stand out to me really fast as something interesting that I really need to keep, I'm not going to bother keeping it. I shoot a ton of redundancy because I shoot wide open all the time because I really like the shallow depth of field, so I miss focus a lot, which means I have a ton that are, just no good or almost there, but not quite, and that's why I shoot so many. But it means, I have a ton of photos to go through, so, it's just kind of the way I approach it. It certainly does not at all mean this is the only way to do it, so keep in mind this is just my workflow. So you can see there, he finally is getting to like the end of the fish. And then one of his siblings came over, tried to steal it, but it didn't happen. He hung on to it. I kind of like that the bird in the foreground has a little bit of motion blur. You can see some on the foot there. The adult is just kind of like walking by, but he's tack sharp, so that might be an interesting photo. So I'll keep that one. Rejected. Definitely keep that one. He's nice and sharp. Rejected. I don't like the angle. Soft head. That's kind of cool. Maybe. He's starting to angle away a little bit soft for movement. All right, so now I drop my exposure. So I kicked my shutter speed up, dropped my ISO down because I think I was noticing it was starting to get too low. And this is the kind of exposure I really like right here. So this is more of a good exposure for me. It's a little bit under, but that's generally how I like to shoot. Most people prefer to shoot over. I randomly prefer to shoot under, but I really like how this shows that kind of glow. So at this point in the morning, the sun wasn't even shining yet. It was still behind this dune, so it wasn't even directly shining on here, but there was definitely some direction in light, which gave me that lovely little glow around it. So rejected, rejected, rejected. These are all out of focus. That one's sharp, but the other one's just kind of in the way, the adult. Maybe on that one. Obviously nothing going on there. Rejected. Reject, reject. So you can see how long this thing was working with this fish. He was really, really trying. So he's going to try and swallow it sideways now. That's obviously not going to work. Pretty funny. I like how both the adults are just kind of overlooking him here. I do not like how this one has the nictitating membrane down. So the eye looks a little bit weird. And you'll notice if I go before there, clean eye, funky eye. So I personally hate those membranes. And don't really like them, so I'd love that shot, but the head's blurred here. This is where the head's sharp, and that one's got the eye, so whatever, I'll keep it. I mean, it's probably not a sharing photo anyway. And yeah, you're right, Simon. They are oddball compositions with their long beaks and long tails, and especially when they get close. Thankfully, at this distance, it wasn't too bad. And you know what? Here's a shot that has the chick sharp and the clean eye there, but then I have this guy landing right back there, which is hugely distracting, so I'm just going to keep rejecting. Turned away, reject, reject. All right, facing me, but background's distracting. I don't like the placement of those birds. Rejected. Looks like he's about to get chased. So he's still working with this fish. It was crazy. That one's interesting. I'll hang on to that. That one's even better. So go back, reject, keep that one. There we go. That's some cool action right there. I'll hang on to that. That one's really funny. Reject, it's soft. Too much going on there. Maybe on that one. Get rid of reject, reject. So I'll just try and go through this whole series here. So somebody says in the comments that it's fantastic. They're so bad at calling. Yeah, this definitely took me some practice, and I got really good at it from weddings. There was weddings back in the day when, we'd come back, between my wife and I, we'd have, between like almost 4,000 photos. So we had to get really good at calling. And she definitely has a different approach. My wife, she is a more deliberate and slow caller, which probably makes her stuff better in the end. But this has just been my method, and it works for me. So this is just kind of how I go through the approach here. That one's really cool. Love the position of everything. If that sucker wasn't there, it would be even the best. It's almost to the point, if I end up sharing this, I might actually remove that bird, but we'll see. I don't know if it's share worthy. I just love how he's up with the fish hanging. These guys are kind of framing him in. It's a bummer this guy isn't in focus, but it's still kind of cool framing there. That one's funny with the fish position, so I'll hang on to that. That one's a no-go. Delete. That would be great if it was in focus. Hopefully I have one. There we go. Next one's in focus. So that's great. Good action with the bird in the back. Yeah, you could see he was like chasing him there, so now he's running away with the fish still sticking out of him. I seriously have no idea how it fit that stinking fish inside of it. I mean, that thing was way longer than its body. It must just coil up inside the bird. It's crazy. No wonder these things grow so fast. So rejected. I'll hang on to that one. Reject. No good. Nothing there. And the fish is just about gone. I'll hang into that one. And there we go. I moved on from that scene. He finished up and he kind of went away. So this would be a great keeper if it wasn't for this bird in the background. I really love the light on this. It's a nice clean shot, relatively clean background, nice fish, and then that bird killed it. So rejected. And missed focus there. That's in focus, but that bird's still back there killing it. So, yep, those two are gone. It was an almost scenario, but not quite. That would be nice if both birds were in focus, but they're not. And I clipped the tail feather on the adult, so gone. That one's cool. Nice indication of the adults back there. Chicks in focus. That's fun with street lights and stuff in the background. So I'll keep a couple of those. Missed focus, bad head angle, bad head angle, bad head angle. Yep, so I didn't get anything on that bird. And on to the next one. So that one's out of focus a little bit. That one's in. Plus the step up is better. Head on is really funny. Hang in there. Reject. These are just duplicates. I don't need them. It's the same thing. Oh, actually, I like the head coming up now, and that's a perfect head on right there. So for this one, I'll probably crop him a little close, maybe get rid of some background birds there, and just make it all about this guy. Unfortunately, it wasn't closer, so I could just kind of shoot it that way, but that's how it goes. The whole area is roped off, so you can't really like move in on the bird. So yeah, it's a nice portrait of it, but this bird's just kind of encroaching in on the space, so I'm just going to reject them all. There's some of the whole flock flying, bridges in the background. Looks like a missed focus. The light started getting amazing there. That's kind of cool. Get rid of that. That's better. Missed focus. That's just a mess, so reject. Common turn. There's a nice juvenile common turn there. That's a better exposure. He was starting to get the really good light. So rejected. So you can see there's a lot of rejection going on here. So that's kind of my process. I'm going to go forward just a little bit more to some flight shots that I had. Ooh, I haven't even looked at these guys yet, so this is like the first I'm seeing them just with you guys. I love this interaction here. These guys were doing some kind of courting behavior. And yeah, they're almost both in focus. This one's tack sharp. This one's close. Not quite, just because it's a little bit behind. But man, that light is incredible. So that's some good stuff there. I definitely should have some nice stuff from that. This I was trying to get just the head peeking out over the top. Might work, might not. We'll see. And then then I actually got the sun started hitting these birds, and then I started shooting some nice backlight. So you can see there's some great glow on these birds right there. That guy was eating. I guess I missed the handoff. Let me see. Let me go back a little bit. Yeah, I got to him a little late there. And you can see when I started out, I was set to shoot out in the sun. And because I was full manual, my exposure was a little off. This would be recoverable, but I fixed it right away because I noticed my meter was showing way wrong. And then I got these shots here. So some of these will definitely be good. It's kind of fun with it choking the fish out there. Or down, I should say. Man, he's having a rough time with that. But that light, I love that light. It's some of my favorite light. Shooting those little backlit glow and things like that. Tried to get a couple of backlit birds landing. Missed. That's in focus, but he's too low now. Yeah, those are trash. Couple more there. Let's see if this was like some feeding. He's got a fish. Oh, I think I remember this. This adult was trying to feed the chick, but the chick wanted nothing to do with it. So I'm guessing that was not its chick. It was really weird. But that kind of stuff happens a lot. So this would be great if this bird was actually angled parallel to me. Sandra asks, have I ever tried Photo Mechanic? Yeah, I use Photo Mechanic on weddings when I'm culling directly off the card. It's incredibly fast, but what I've found that I kind of personally don't like with Photo Mechanic is it never gives me an accurate representation of color and sharpness. So I can't really check real fine-tuned sharpness with it. I don't know if I have settings wrong. I've checked and rechecked settings and looked online, and from what I can tell, I have everything set properly, but it's definitely incredibly fast, but I can't find myself using it accurately to decide what I'm going to keep, because sometimes focus is off just a tiny bit, and I can't tell that in Photo Mechanic. I can only tell that once the image is rendered nicely in Lightroom. And I kind of like seeing the final color in here. And again, Photo Mechanic just kind of seems to work off the preview that's embedded in the raw file. So I don't really like that one as much. So that's my answer to that question. I know a ton of people love it, and it is really fast and works great. But yeah, just not for me. And you can see once you have the previews rendered in here, I mean, I'm going through these, and I don't know. I mean, clicking from one to the next, and they're rendering tack sharp, and I can zoom in on them pretty much instantly. So zoom in, zoom out. I can check sharpness on that. So I kind of don't know why it would need to be any faster than this. It definitely took, like I said in the beginning, it took 45 minutes for Lightroom to ingest all 2,000 photos and render them with the one-to-one previews, which is how I can go through them so fast now. But, I just come back from the shoot and I pop the card in, I walk away for a little while and just kind of let it do its thing. And then I wait for it to be finished, and that's when I come back. All right, so this is what I wanted to get to. I was working on some flight shots of these birds. The adults were all kind of flying around and skimming really low to the water in some wet sand, and I was getting some reflections, and there was one particular shot I remember taking that I want to see if I can find real quick here, because I'm really hoping it's sharp. And I caught a bird incoming, and he was skimming. This isn't it, but I was just checking this real quick. Yeah, that'll let it up nicely. So I'll probably just crop that bird mostly out and then clone a little bit out of it if I need to. But the foam is there, the light is there, it's tack sharp on the head. Love the reflection right there. That's going to be a real pretty shot. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can find this one shot. He was kind of flying a little bit more parallel to me. Come on, this might be it here. Let's see. No, I had him. He was actually touching his bill into the beak. So I just wanted to find this, and then I was going to move along with you guys to a different set. This might be it. Yeah. Let's see. Photobomb bird in the front. There we go. Oh, that one's going to be really nice too. Oh, man, that doesn't look like it. I'm remembering this specific shot. So let me just scroll through a little bit more here. Sorry, I'm excited to see these two because I haven't looked at them yet. It may have been earlier. I thought it was earlier than these, so I might have to go back. I may have missed it. I know it was just a short burst and it was just an individual bird. I really like trying to get these too with some waves crashing in the background, which I thought were kind of cool. Thanks for the comments, guys. A couple people saying gorgeous light. Appreciate that. The light was incredible this morning. Some of the best I've shot in a while. So got super lucky with that. Simon asks, curious as to your exposure and focusing modes used on them. Do you change when shooting flight shots? Yes, I certainly do. So I was full manual exposure all day. So all morning long, I never used any auto settings at all. I was just shooting fully manual. The light was changing, but changing very slowly. So I didn't really find a need to... sorry, I'm getting distracted by my own photos here. That's really sad. I didn't find a need to use any auto exposure modes because I kind of knew exactly where I was shooting and what it was going to be set at. So that was pretty straightforward and easy. And yeah, this might be it. Yep, that's it. There's the shot. That's what I wanted right there, wingtips. All right, so I'm just going to include that one in with the stuff that we're going to edit from earlier. So yeah, Simon, I just use single point focus for all the initial portrait stuff up front here. So all this is single autofocus point. It is continuous focus. I shoot everything continuous focus, even if it's a stationary bird. And then let's see, exposure mode, full manual. So it's just manual ISO, manual shutter speed, and aperture. And then for the flight shots, I was still manual exposure, everything, except I then changed to, on Nikon, they have a group or a 9-point dynamic on my camera. So I was using the 9-point dynamic. I just generally like that better than the group for how I was shooting really low to the ground. But I know a ton of people that love group, and in certain circumstances, I find group works better, and I'll use that. So that's kind of how I switch it up. And then for stationary stuff, I would just switch back to single point off of that dynamic mode. All right, so I'm not going to go through this entire set. I'd be here all day with you guys, and that would be really boring. So the next step that I would do is I would select pretty much everything, or at least as far as I got through with my initial culling process, right? So let me go up to where I stopped rejecting stuff. And you know what, let me go just a little bit more so I can get into some of that nice light stuff so we can include that in with the mix. So I'm just going to hit a little more. Stay patient with me there. Thanks for hanging in there. Rejected. That guy's really tiny and cute. I'll hang on to that one. Missed focus. He's looking in. That's nice. So just going through quickly here and rejecting. That would be cute if I could see the chick's eye. I can't though, so I don't like it. And it's far away. And there we go. There's the chick's eye. So I might hang on to one of those. I like the one with the chick's beak open. And if you'll notice, the second chick under the wing starting to show right there. So that's kind of cool. That might be an interesting. Gonna have to crop in a bit on it, but we'll see. After that, I don't need any of those. That one's kind of funny with the head just poking up. That's a better head angle, so I'll leave that one. Reject, reject. Oh, there's an even better head angle. I wish it wasn't intersecting the leg, but whatever. We'll hang on to it for now. There we go. We got that bird out of the way. We'll leave that one. Oh, that's really cool, actually. Love that. I wish I didn't clip that wing, but here's the shot right here. This guy just calling out of focus with this one looking like that. It's pretty cool. Rejected, rejected, rejected. So lots of rejection going on here. All right, here we go, getting into the nice light. That would have been amazing with the interaction if it wasn't for this bird in the foreground there. So delete it. No good. Rejected, rejected. Nice light, but this background's just a mess right there. That big clump coming up right behind him, so I don't like any of those. There we go, cleaner background. That would be great if I didn't clip the tail on and the wingtips on the bird on the left, so hopefully I fix that shortly. Let's see. It looks like I was focusing on this bird and not paying attention too much to that bird on the left, so that's my mistake. Getting a little bit closer. This guy's walking in. Now I got the tail of another bird in there, so hopefully that goes away shortly. This is so good with the beaks touching here and this light. I'm going to leave it, and if I need to, I'll just clone that one stupid little tail out there. So that's a keeper. I like that head position better, so I'm going to delete that one. And then, yeah, the interaction's gone, so I got to keep that one with the tail from the other bird in. This is pretty cool with the head-on angle there, so delete. Delete, delete, delete. Lots to delete. All right, so that should be good enough. All right, so I'm going to take all of these, including the rejected ones, select everything. It's going into my next step, which is the final culling stage. And then I'm just going to add that one that I set aside from later into there as well. Then I'll come back to all photographs. I'm going to just do a command delete, or I think control delete on Windows. And what that does is it filters my catalog of all the rejected photos and deletes them. And I'm just going to delete them right off the hard drive. I do not need them anymore. Those photos are no good for me, so I'm not going to hang on to them. So now they're gone. They're out of Lightroom and they're in the trash on my hard drive here, so I can empty the trash and get rid of them. And remember, if I did anything accidentally and wanted to get back to it, it's already been backed up on my time machine, so I could technically recover it. Plus, it's still sitting on the camera card on my desk right here. So back to the beginning here. So now this is my final culling stage. So now I have only things that are left are the ones I already deemed good from that first round of stuff. So I'm just going to go through these a second time now, because now I've also been able to see everything I shot, so I know already that I don't really need this photo, so delete it. That one's kind of nice. That one's too far away. Delete. This is just kind of boring now. I had a different head angle. There we go. Better head angle. So I'm just going to go through this set a second time now of just the things I kept off the first round and get rid of anything that's just unnecessary. I don't like this anymore. That one's cool. That one's cool. Meh. That one's better. That one's even better. Man, what a bummer. I would have had such a great interaction here if this other stupid bird didn't get in the way. Gotta love that, right? Complained about too many birds. Get rid of that one. Keep that one. Yeah, let's keep that one. Don't need that one. That's awesome. He's kind of tossing the fish up there. That's fun. That's a better position of the background bird, so I'll switch and get rid of that one. Keep it. So, again, just going through really fast and just deciding what I need, because now I'm just kind of looking at the only things that are decent and deciding how much is redundant and what I need to keep and what I don't need to keep. So like I'll keep that one and then not that one because he's kind of angled away. Hang on to it. We'll see. And some of these might still get rejected at some point. That one I don't need. That one's funnier. That's still funny. Kind of cool. Nice. Meh, I don't like the other secondary chick there. There we go. That's better anyway. Nice little peek. That's cool with the lights in the background. This one's probably a delete, but I'm going to see how it edits up. So I'll hang on to it. So this is where I was trying the head-on thing, but you can see the head is slightly off there. It's much better there. Then it came up there, but this is a little bit cleaner with the other bird, so I'm going to delete that one and keep the other one. Cool flock shot. That's nice. I like it. Nice interaction between the two. I'll get rid of that one. Keep that one. Keep that one. Let's see these. I do like the head turned a little bit better there, and then that one's really fun. Really cool. I don't like it anymore. And then love that. All right. So back to all photographs. Command delete again. Get rid of all these extra rejected ones. Now from my final cull stage, I'm going to select all these, and they're going to go to the color correcting phase. So I have some photos in here that I needed to do, but I'm not going to use them. I'm just going to skip them. So here's the color correcting phase. So let me show you what I do for that. So I normally use this trackpad up here for all of my computer use. It's just comfortable for my hand and helps with any repetitive stress injuries I would get from using a mouse all day. But I do like this mouse. I have this Logitech. I think it's Logitech. Yeah, Logitech MX Master mouse. It's like a programmable, all kinds of buttons on it mouse, and I have it customized to do a bunch of stuff in Lightroom for me. And then I'm going to hop into Develop. And here's the really fun part. I have this, it's called a P-Fixer board. It's a MIDI board with sliders on it that actually allow me to adjust everything in Lightroom. All my sliders in Lightroom work with this. So I swing this around on this arm here and set it up in front of me. I'll turn it on. And these are motorized sliders, so you can see as they hopefully you can see they just start moving on their own there. So let me switch a view here and I'll just show you. So if I were to take, this is the exposure slider here. I'm going to, in Lightroom, actually adjust the exposure slider, and you can watch that slider go way up and go way back down. So wherever I move the slider in Lightroom, it moves the slider physically, and then vice versa. So let me hop back to split screen here. I'm going to slide the exposure slider up and down and up and down. So I get to control all of the adjustments on my screen with this physical board right here. And I'll leave it on the split screen just so you guys can kind of see how this works. So I have a button programmed right here on the mouse to enter in the crop mode. So I'll enter into the crop, set my crop up right there, make sure it is perfectly horizontal. Rotate that a little bit. There we go. That's a good crop. So I'm going to go just a touch lighter, white balance, shadows up, bring my blacks back down. I'm going to warm it up just a little bit more, take that morning cool out of it. And that looks really good. Maybe a little bit more offset on the crop. And on to the next photo. So enter the crop mode again. Like I said, I'm going to crop this in a little bit tighter than it was originally. All right, exposure down, highlights down, bring the details back in the white, kick the shadows up so I can see that. Blacks bring the contrast back. White balance just a little bit warmer so I get that morning warmth from the sun. And that's looking mighty fine. So I'm going to copy these settings because I know I have one next. I'm going to paste them onto this one. There we go. Now the settings match. I can crop this one again. Let's try vertical crop on this. This one's a little bit darker just because of the head angle there. So I'm just going to kick the exposure up a little bit. Moving right along. All right, so crop this. I'd love to be able to crop that one out, but if I do, I lose the tail, so it's got to stay. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in front. Crop, shadows up, blacks down, white balance way warmer. Bring the highlights down to bring that back in. The foreground's a little bit light, so gradient adjustment there. I'm going to darken that, darken the background a little bit up there. It's a little bit too much, so I'll back that off. And getting these gradient adjustments and things like that are all shortcuts I have on the mouse. There's another shortcut I have on the mouse. I just press a button and it automatically copies the settings from the previous photo. I'm just going to reset the crop, but I like that it brought the white balance over and everything like that. It's a little bit too red on this one, so I'll back that off a touch. And we'll go a little bit lighter here. So again, I'm going to copy these settings just in case I want to apply them to, in fact, this entire set is going to be the same. So let's get all those, paste the settings on. And there, I just made all those photos the exact same color corrected settings. So now I can go to it, crop. It's a little bit light, so darken it down a little bit. And that means it might be light for the rest of these. So I'll copy those updated settings and paste them onto all that. Thanks for a few of you for still hanging in here. I thought this would be kind of a boring video for everybody, so I'm not surprised most of you left. But a lot of you people, when I asked, said you were interested, so that's really cool. And I'm guessing a lot of people probably watch a recorded version, so. Gonna go into the crop tool again. I think my shadows are pushed up a little bit too high, so I'm gonna darken them down a little bit. And then just use that for the next one, next one. This one I'm gonna crop in a little bit closer because I got that secondary bird in there that's kind of just ruining everything. And I'm gonna bring those shadows back down, copy those settings in case I want them again. So what do you guys think of this system? Hopefully it makes sense to you and works really good. So here we go again with a really light foreground, gradient adjustment, darken that a little bit. On to the next. I think I might be a little bit too red on this, so I'm going to dial in just a touch of green and a little bit back off the warmth white balance there. Bring up the crop tool. That's nice. That looks good there. Same setting should work on that, except I don't want to clip that tail. Oh, I see you guys are on quite a bit of a delay. So you're just starting to see me color correct in a little bit here, so. Sorry about the delay. But let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to go through and do a few more. In fact, I'll color correct all of these. There's only like a handful of photos left. But this is how I would do it, just going through the entire set, same exact way. You know, I would go cull through the entire set of photos that way, get it to where it's at now, and then color correct them all. So I do global color corrections on everything in Lightroom, so I kind of get an idea and see how it looks. Here's where I darken the exposure a little bit, so you can see the same settings aren't applying perfectly, so I'll just kind of punch that up a little bit. And let's see what happens if I go like really warm with the white balance. It's a little bit too much, so I'll back off of it, keep it more realistic. Pardon me. Alright, let's grab those same settings, crop that. Maybe if I just kind of put the birds a little bit high there, I can get rid of most of that other bird. Just go a little bit more. And then we'll darken this foreground. So you can see how having shortcuts and different ways to adjust like with this P-Fixer board here can make it way faster. Here's the other thing I really love about this board is you can adjust multiple things at the same time. So I'm going to do shadows, blacks, exposure, and white balance all at the same time. So here we go. There, they all just moved at the same time, and all those sliders, just like that, kind of got their adjustments done. So the nice thing is, once you get used to where everything is on this board, you kind of just start, you stop even looking at the labels here, and you just start using your hands to move. And you can even go from photo to photo here on the board. There's buttons to do that, so I could bring the darks down, lighten that up, white balance, make it richer, add a little saturation, then come over here and do a crop. And just like that, that photo's done. Hit the shortcut on my mouse, get the same exact adjustments for that one. I don't want to hit the keyboard on the mouse for this one, or the shortcut I meant to say. But there we go. Let's richen that up real nice. And these photos still are, these are just the global kind of Lightroom adjustments. It's going to look a lot better once I get it into Photoshop. But I'll only go into Photoshop with the photos I'm going to share each day. So I don't Photoshop everything. I just kind of make global adjustments to everything here that I might want to keep. And let's just clip these birds and make it all about the chick here. That's pretty good. Let's see what kind of crop I want on this. I think we'll get rid of that bird on the right. And in a little bit here, we'll get into some of that nice light stuff, which should be fun to play with. So up until now, this was all pretty much soft light before the sun was actually directly shining on anything. Now here's that photo. I wanted to see if I could edit up something out of. I just kind of like the city lights back there. They looked a little interesting. So I'm going to adjust it for the bird only, which means I'm going to kind of blow out the background and not really worry about it. So I'm going to just adjust that accordingly. And then I'm just going to throw a linear gradient adjustment on it and darken that back up and maybe kind of blue it up so it's like sky back there. Another linear gradient and darken the foreground. And it's better. I still don't love it. So the background, this hill kind of came up behind the bird. If the bird was like on the top of this hill and had that as a background, it would have stood out better. This bird isn't great. There's a lot of junk in here, roughed up sand. So, you know, it'll probably end up getting rejected in the long run. This guy, let's go with a little vertical here. Make it all about him. And let me know if you guys have any questions. And I'll get into Photoshop in just a little bit since I'm done color correcting these. So lighten, kick the highlights up, shadows up, blacks down, and there we go. That's a nice flock shot, and let's crop it pano. So I'm going to unlock the proportional crop. And we don't need these birds in the front there, and there's kind of a group right there that starts. So here we go. That's interesting. Let's check that out full screen. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't love it, but it's interesting. All those road signs kind of suck. All right, nice light on this one, and because there was all that city stuff up there is specifically why I cropped the bird. I put the bird in the top of the frame. So I'm just going to rotate to get that sand straight, lighten it just a touch, really dial that warmth in. There's the detail back on that guy, and let's darken this a touch as well as warm it up so it matches the right tone there, and we'll change the gradient. Thanks for jumping in, Linda. And yes, I will have the recorded version available for everybody to check out so you can watch the whole thing. All right, this one's going to be a hell of a crop. This is like an Instagram only share right here. Definitely not going to be a lot of quality or resolution left on this, but hey, sometimes it's a cute moment. I probably am not ever going to actually share this photo, but it's kind of just a nice one to have for myself. We grab the same settings from the previous one. Richen those blacks up a little bit, and then we're almost into the really good light stuff, so just a couple more here and then we'll get into Photoshop, and I'm actually going to share probably that last photo that I have in this set today. Thanks, Miguel. Glad you're enjoying it. Nice, it's a similar workflow to you. That's great. And yeah, you know, as far as workflows go with people, I find that let me go back to the screen so you guys can just see the whole thing here. I find that, you know, there is really never just one workflow that works for kind of everybody or every scenario. Everybody really has to come up with and make their own kind of workflow that fits them and how they work, how they like to edit, how they like to share photos, what the end result is, you know, that sort of thing. This is what I found over the years really works well for me. The main ingredients for me are speed, because I edit through so many photos between wildlife stuff and wedding stuff. That's an important part. Backup is really important, as you saw in the beginning. And then the other thing that's important for me is the end product, which is going to be for wildlife. It's going to be sharing online and making that process really simple. And I'll show you exactly how I do that in a little bit. Oh, I really love this photo. So just going to pull the highlights down to get the detail there. Going to kick the blacks up, get a little bit more in the black parts of these birds. And then, man, yeah, I just love that. So the only other thing here is the foreground is a little light. So I'm just going to darken that a touch. But yeah, it's, you know, you just kind of piece together all of the all the different workflow things you've read about and learned about from other people, and you end up doing what works for you, you know? So here's going to be the crop on this. You can't see this full reflection really well, so I'm going to clip it a little bit, but I do want to include some of it. And I want more space in front of the bird, so I don't have that here, and that's a little tight up there, so I'm going to add some space in Photoshop, and we're going to get rid of that bird. That being said, we're going to edit it here to its best potential. So I want a little bit more detail on the blacks there, a little bit warmer, and then something like that I think should work really well. I'm going to just saturate the blues a tiny, tiny bit here. Give them just a little bit of punch, and we should be good to go there. Let's see, a couple questions. Some people just saying they're finding it helpful. That's great. Somebody asked, do you do all the work in Lightroom? I do all the global work in Lightroom, and this is when it would go to Photoshop right now. So after I'm done this color correction phase, I would select all of these that have been color corrected. They would go into my rating collection here. I'd go through, rate them all, give them a star rating. In this case, I think I'm going to give this one's going to be a 4. It's going to edit up really nice. So once I rate everything, I then filter them all to just like the 3 and 4s, or 3 and better basically. And then I go through and pick out everything I think is worthy of being shared. And then that gets a keyword. You'll see I'm going to add a keyword right now called share social. So when I add that keyword onto any photo or a collection, a set of photos, they automatically go into this social smart collection over here in the to share section. And these are all the photos I have. You can see there's a lot over the years that I just have deemed worthy at the time of editing that they were possibly worth sharing. So I'll just sift through a few here. You can see they're all really good. They've been color corrected in Lightroom. They look nice, but they haven't gone into Photoshop yet. So these are all really good photos that every morning when I go to share a photo, I hop into this collection, I scroll through and pick what I want to edit, and then I start working on it. So in this case, I'm done with this board. I'm going to get that out of my way. In this case today, I want to share this photo. So I'm just going to move it up to my quick collection here. That's where I'm going to work on it. I'm going to keyword it. So black skimmer, flying, wings, action, reflection, low angle, ground level, sunrise, it was early, morning, the bird is black, it is also white, it also has that bright orange on it. You can see the feet, you can see the bill, and can't remember if I put flying on it, and then there's also water in the background. Oops. So there we go. All those keywords go on it. The photo is about as good as it's going to get in Lightroom now, so now it's time to go to Photoshop. So I will switch back to my split view here so you guys can see what I do in Photoshop. So I'm going to do Edit in Photoshop. And this is where I grab the Wacom tablet and the pen. I'm going to wait for it to open in Photoshop. And here we are. So first thing is I'm going to make a retouch layer and go through and clone out anything I don't want. I told you already I don't want this extra bird in there. So he's going to go away really quick. So I'm just using the cloning tool right now on a blank layer. Always be careful not to make patterns. So grab stuff from all over the place. And that should do for that. Just get rid of his reflection down there. So that totally made a pattern, but that's okay. I'm just going to blend that pattern away. Just going to use the healing brush tool to get rid of those couple little nubs. Get rid of that black dark thing there. One light spot down here I didn't like, and there we go. Looking pretty nice. All right, so next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a curves adjustment layer that burns it, so it darkens things a little bit. So this part of the bird is a little bit hot, as is the entire underside of this wing. So I'm going to bring tone back into that. This is a little bit too light. Bring some tone down to that. Miguel asks, he didn't catch the name of the photo editing console I'm using. It's called a P-Fixer board. So I'm going to drop it in the comments right now. Let's see. You know what? I'm trying to think of the name of the company. Oh, Pusher Labs is the company. It's Pusher Labs. There we go. P-Fixer board. There we go. Just dropped it in the comments. So for anybody just listening and not seeing the Facebook Live comments, Miguel asked what that physical slider board that I was using is called. It's called P-Fixer board from Pusher Labs. They have a bunch of different options. The one I got was the little bit more high-end option. And the reason I got it and spent the money on it, it's not real cheap, is because I do this all the time. You know, I do it for a living with weddings and everything like that. So it totally made sense for me to invest in something like that that makes everything faster for me. And it also really helped, again, with my repetitive stress injuries. I had a lot of pain in my wrist from using a mouse and keyboard all the time. So when I changed to using a trackpad and just occasionally a mouse, as well as using the physical sliders on that board, it solved all of my issues. I don't have any of those issues anymore. And it really allowed me to get faster and shave a couple seconds off every edit. But, you know, when you're editing 800 wedding photos, that ends up to a nice chunk of time in the end. All right, so back to the Photoshop edit here. Let's see. The front of the bird, I want to be a little bit lighter here. So I'm going to just kind of draw more attention to its head and eye. So I'm going to dodge the eye up a little bit there. Just the orange, just a tiny bit there. And maybe just a little bit of these areas in the black so we can kind of see some detail in those and make that look good. And there we go. That's looking mighty fine. And now what I also want to do is really enhance the blue in that water. So I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer. I'm going to kick the blue channel up and just a touch down in the cyan channel. So it's affecting everything right now. And now I'm just going to go in with a brush and take it off the bird. And first I'm just going to try and select the bird out real quick. I'm just going to use a quick color range selection. That's good enough to get me started around the wing there. Yeah, that should work. So I'll invert that selection. I'm just going to paint with black on this to get rid of that blue adjustment that I just put on there. I've already deselected it. I don't need that selection going anymore down here because I can be a little bit less accurate. Let's see where the selection's working for me down here. Nice. Bring the bright oranges back into that. So I'm turning the selection on and off as I see that I need it, because I know where it's probably working well and where it isn't working well. And then I'm just going to turn this off and make sure I fill in all these areas. So you can see where the mask got painted now and where the selection worked really well and some areas where it didn't work so hot. So I will go back and fix those areas, clean them up a little bit. So since it's just a basic color adjustment, you're not seeing a huge change here. I don't need to be like 100% accurate on where I actually masked that out. And here's the before and after on that water adjustment. I actually like how the warm tones of the morning fit into the crashing waves back here. So I'm going to paint that blue out of those to give them kind of the warm tones again. And then let's not forget the reflection. That'll help that stand back out. And there we go. I'd say that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the finished piece. So you know what, one other area that's a little weird, the back side of this wing is just like oddly kind of strangely light. So I'm just going to burn that down a little bit. And yeah, I think we're good. So before, after. So let me show that again here. Before, after. I think I went a little bit too blue with the water, so I'm going to go into that adjustment and back off just a touch. And let's turn it on and off. Before, after. Not a massive change, just some subtleties there, but I cleaned it up a little bit. Let's see, we got a couple more comments. Linda says, the P-Fixer board appears to be Apple only. Is there a PC equivalent? I am not sure. I thought that they had a PC plugin. I'm not sure what I just did there. I hit an accent accidentally and brought a bar down in. Weird. I'm not sure. I thought they had a plugin, Linda, that worked on the PC side of things. So if not, maybe contact them and they might have something. Because I thought their software worked cross-platform, but I could be mistaken. And then Miguel says he does quite a bit in Lightroom. Curious to see when I take things into Photoshop. Photoshop is still a challenge, but he's slowly getting to understanding. Oh, yeah. So the reason I go into Photoshop is all those selective edits that I just made are so much easier to do in Photoshop than they are in Lightroom for me. So I just found them kind of way easier to do in there and more accurately as well. So here's the side-by-side before and after. Oh, yeah, wait, actually, I forgot. There's one more thing I wanted to do in Photoshop. Let me hop back in there. I wanted to add a little bit of space to make the composition work a little bit better. So I'm going to grab the crop tool here. We're going to actually move it. So I'm going to move the bird to the left in the frame. So there's a little bit more space up front. And then I'm going to expand it so it's not right on that wingtip up top there. And this is going to be a real easy fix, actually. So any of these adjustment layers have to get filled out completely. That should be good. I'm going to merge my retouch layer down onto the background layer. I'm going to grab the whole front section here, duplicate that onto its own layer, and then just stretch that sucker out real quick. A little bit more. So super easy to change my composition here. That line is right weird from that adjustment layer, so I'm just going to paint that warmth back in. And then I'm going to merge that back down, and I'm going to do the same exact thing on the top here. Just going to duplicate it, stretch it up. But then the one spot I want to fix is I don't want to stretch that wingtip out like I just did, because that brought it closer again. So I'll mask that back into the original. So there, we don't have any of that wingtip showing. And then I'll just clone, I'll just clone that blue little bit that I masked out over the top there. And voila. There we go. Better composition, more space in the front, a little bit of leeway on the top there. Just kind of fix that up. So I fully understand there's a bunch of people that probably would never want to do that kind of edit in Photoshop on a wildlife photo, and I totally respect that and understand why. Some people like to keep things really pure. For me, my end goal is always just to present a real photo. A pretty to look at photo, and I thought that made things a little bit better. I personally don't feel like I completely changed the original intent of this photo. I still kind of put those changes under the category of, just tweaking the things up a little bit. Ideally, if I would have shot it better or a little bit more space, I could have just cropped it that way, but I didn't, and I don't have another photo that kind of has this look to it. So for me, that basic edit, and you can see what happened really quick, was well worth the time and effort. And I don't think it completely changed the original intent of the photo and made it something that is digital art anymore. I still think it's kind of an accurate wildlife photo, even though it may not be 100% real. So that's my take on it. I'm sure many people have different varying opinions and would disagree, and that is totally fine. All right, so I don't need the raw file anymore. I'm just going to work with the Photoshop file now, and I'm going to actually share this online right now. So the first thing is it needs a title. So give me a sec. Let me come up with something. Morning skimmer reflection. That works. So, and now I'm going to caption it. This morning I spent a few hours with a colony of black skimmers. The sunrise light was incredible and just right for flight shots. Once I noticed the birds were landing and skimming in a particular area, I moved my attention to them. I set up laying as low as possible where many of the birds were landing. This one came flying by in just the right light, and just above the reflected wet sand. I love how I caught some of the reflection in this shot. And let's do this. Full disclosure, I removed a bird on the right and added a touch of space in front and above the bird in post-production. There you go. So that's a great way around it, I think. Just as a note to everybody, if you are concerned that maybe your edit pushed things too far and it might be a little bit outside the bounds of what you would normally do, I think if you just divulge that in the caption or, wherever you share the photo and let people know what you've done, it kind of takes any secrecy out of it or the fact that maybe you were trying to fool people or anything like that. Like, you're just point blank letting them know what you did. And I think that is totally acceptable at that point and almost recommended to do when you do any significant editing like that. So taken at a private beach in southern New Jersey. Oops. All right, so captions typed in there. Why did I type it in Lightroom? Because I'm going to use plugins in Lightroom to actually publish this photo online and allow me to share it everywhere. And because the caption is typed in here in Lightroom, I won't have to do it again. It will be, it'll kind of carry through when I share it online. So the next step I have to do is I'm going to make a virtual copy of it. I'm going to get rid of this share social keyword tag because I don't need it on there. I'm going to add the label need to submit. So this is a copy that I'm going to edit with a different caption that I will submit to stock photography websites. So every photo I share each day, I go ahead and do that now. A couple more people asking for the Windows alternative for the P-Fixer board. Unfortunately, I do not know, and I'm sorry, I just don't know if there's a Windows version. I'm sure there is something out there, but I'm Mac only, so that's all I've ever really worked with. Peg said, "Are you in Photoshop now?" Yes, I was doing a bunch of stuff in Photoshop. And then Jonathan asks, "Can I save the video?" Yes, I am recording this, and I will publish it to my YouTube channel later, so you guys can watch it there. All right, so as for the caption has to be a little bit more basic now for stock photography website, so that's what I'm going to do now. So a black skimmer. I don't need to read this to you guys. I'm just going to do this caption real quick. All right, so I captioned that. So I'm going to drop that into my collection that is for birds in my stock photography area. And then that same caption works well for my print sales website. So I'm going to drop it into the smart collection for that, or the actual collection, I'm sorry, the published collection. From here, I'm going to take this photo. I'm going to export it for 500px where I post it, and for Facebook. And I have a left and a right preset. Left puts my watermark on the left side, right puts my watermark on the right side. So there's my right one. It's going to go on Flickr in my Birds 2018 collection. It's going to go on Facebook in the same thing. It's going to go into my screensaver. This is a collection that is a Dropbox folder that gets shared to all my computers and my Apple TV in the house. So I have a daily updated screensaver that automatically runs all over the place. And then this folder is for my to get it to Instagram. So it's another Dropbox folder, and it publishes it to that. So now that I've dropped those photos in each one of these published collections, I just simply go to the collection and I click the publish button. Go to the next one, wait for it, click publish, next one, and I just go through and hit publish. So this is actually they have preset save settings. It's going to move all the caption and keywords and copyright and everything to all the appropriate places and share it online for me. So there, I just shared it in 5 different places. So the next step is to share it online. So I would normally share it on Instagram, but since I have my phone running right now, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing behind the scenes, I can't show you that, but I would share it on Instagram. I'll go to 500 pixels, upload it here, go to there's my 500 pixels export, and you can see here's the caption, there's all my keywords. I'm going to add a watermark to it, put it in the nature category. I license it through 500 pixels as well. Submit. Go to Flickr. I'm just going to refresh this. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go to the U tab here, take a look at my photo stream, and you should see here's the photo on Flickr already, published with the title, captions, and keywords that I gave it in Lightroom. So that is good to go. Then I go to Facebook, and I go to my Crushbox photo page. I'm not sure, Phileas, if it's only laggy for you. I apologize if it is. Hopefully you can watch the recorded version, and that will be less so when I upload that to YouTube. So if you're having any issues watching it now, maybe just check back later when it's not live, and you can try it then. So sorry if there are any issues. So here in Facebook, it already published to my page, my business page. I'm going to copy the caption. Go back to my home here, and then I'm going to upload it directly to my profile using the Facebook upload here. Paste in that caption, and then post it. What I would do after that is I would go through to all the different groups that I post to each day and share the photos there, and I'll do that momentarily, but you guys don't need to really watch that. So that's pretty much it, guys. You just seen the entire process. Obviously, I kind of shortened it because I didn't do the entire set of photos. We would have been here for way too many hours for that. But hopefully you guys got to kind of see exactly what I do and how I do it. And hopefully you got some great tips and pointers in there. and hopefully you got to see some of the nice photos I got this morning. I'm just going to give a quick scroll through and see what else I find in the set here. Some of these, oh, this one looks like he might be shaking there. Yeah, caught a shake, but it's really weird. Some of these reflection shots of these guys in the water are going to be really nice. The light was just incredible this morning. And I specifically moved down there just to get that, which was a lot of fun. Definitely had them doing some other interesting stuff down here. This guy's just shaking out. His feathers are going to be all over the place. But again, the light was just incredible. So trying to get some interesting action on that one. There should be some cool backlight later. And then I think there's one shot that I'm going to love. Let me see if I can find it. Of a chick. This was later in the day. I was actually doing a live video from on Facebook from the colony, and I took this photo when I was actually doing the live video with everyone. So let me see if I can find it in amongst the thousands of photos I took today. Here we go. This is it. This guy started peeking out right behind this log. Let me see if I can find a good one that I really like. This heads up quite a bit there, but I don't like the composition as much. All right, yeah, something like this should work. So let me do one more quick edit on this one. Oh, sorry if it's laggy, guys. I apologize. I think my internet connection gets a little taxed here. So for something like this, when it's backlit, I usually just kind of crank the white balance way warm, kick the shadows up a bit, bring those blacks back down. Gradient adjustment right here, kind of darken that, warm it up even more. Do another gradient adjustment back here to darken that background just a little more. Pull the highlights down, exposure down just a touch, warm it up a little more. Kick these lights up, and then just take a little bit of that kind of magenta color out. And there, something like that is where I would kind of end up with this one. Now, in Photoshop, I would definitely edit it up quite a bit more. I would probably burn down this light area back here, maybe warm the whole thing a little bit, enhance that existing, there's an existing catch light in the eye there, but it's subtle. And then I might enhance the orange on his beak a little bit just to give that a touch more color, kind of pop this side of his face a little bit more. But when I darken that background, that'll make this kind of glow, this rim light here, really stand out nicely. And I really like this photo a lot. I think this one is going to edit up quite nicely. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thanks so much for staying tuned. I know it was a long thing. There's probably a lot of boring stuff in there, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you have any questions after the fact, certainly leave them in the comments. I'll try my best to respond to them. And I hope everyone has a great Sunday. Thank you again. I'll post the recorded version of this on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Ray Hennessy. So check that out. And thanks again. Have a great day.